Hello everyone, I'm Gareth Edmondson, Studio Director at Creative Assembly. Thank you for joining us. In just a few minutes' time, the amazing teams working on Total War Warhammer III will share with you some exciting updates on the development. Before that, I would just like to take a moment to reflect on the past year at Creative Assembly. Now, I recognise that we've been fortunate and have continued to be successful despite the global pandemic. And I'd like to thank our incredible support and IT teams here at Creative Assembly. It was a monumental undertaking to move all our global operations to be fully remote March last year. Yet we did it, and we got our teams up and running and working from home within a few days. In fact, during the last year, whilst working remotely, we've grown by 20% and recently announced the opening of a third development studio in the UK for when we return to our studios later this year. We're now the largest UK developer with 800 employees representing 46 nationalities based across our 4 studios in West Sussex, UK and Bulgaria. We've adapted and continue to make games from home, and that's a testament to the talent, passion and creativity of our fantastic teams. We also work to support both our local and global communities throughout this difficult time. For example, we gave away nearly 5 million copies of a Total War title to support the UK government's initial stay-at-home campaign. We gave £10,000 to our local food bank, £10,000 to our charity of the year, Click Sergeant, who support young people with cancer and their families. And with the help of our players, we raised an additional £76,000 donation via game sales. We're also continuing our efforts in our education work by supporting disadvantaged students who did not have access to tech at home by providing laptops, and also opening a new scholarship program with Teesside University for disadvantaged and minority students. And we continue to speak to thousands of students across the globe to support their career aspirations. As for the reason why you're here today, well, we announced Total War Warhammer III, the last instalment of the trilogy, back in February. The reception to our trailer has been incredible, and we've loved seeing your reactions and comments. This month, we celebrate the 5-year anniversary of the Total War Warhammer franchise. It's been an incredible journey, and for this, I'd like to thank our partners at Games Workshop and each and every person at CA who contributes so much to our creations. And also, of course, our fans. Thank you for believing in us, and thank you for your continued support. We can't wait to show you more of Warhammer 3, so stick around as we're about to start. Enjoy the show.
everyone, and thank you for joining us for the first Total War Warhammer 3 showcase event. I'm your host Frankie Ward, and I'm here to give you an exclusive first look at what Creative Assembly has in store for the cataclysmic conclusion to the Total War Warhammer series. Today we'll be kicking things off with some brand new content before diving into an exclusive first look at a Total War Warhammer 3 trailer and gameplay. We'll also be hearing from the developers working on the game to learn more about the chaos you can expect to experience. So without further delay, let's get started with a glimpse into the vision for Warhammer 3 from game director Ian Roxburgh.
Total War Warhammer 3 is the grand conclusion to the Total War Warhammer trilogy. The success of the first few games has actually enabled us to be far more ambitious and expand the scale of warfare like never before. When we first embarked on this epic journey way back in 2012, we just looked at this incredibly rich and diverse amount of content that the Warhammer Fantasy universe has in it, and really wanted to make a game that contained everything. But it was very apparent early on that there's no way we could put all that stuff in and do all of it enough justice, both in terms of a Total War game and in terms of the incredible IP, just in one game. So we decided we need to do a trilogy, 3 massive games in their own right, but then fans who have played all those games and enjoyed them will get the opportunity to play one giant game at the end that combines all the content from all these 3 games in this massive, massive world. It's the game we want to play as developers, and it's the game we knew our fans would ultimately want to play. Warhammer Fantasy Battle Universe is such an incredibly rich and diverse world full of incredible monsters and giants and characters and environments and storms of magic, and you name it, it's in there, and it just provides such a brilliant tapestry to design a Total War game on. We can do things that we'd never ever be able to do in any other kind of environment, and it's been such a pleasure to work with this IP and to bring new experiences to our players that they would never have seen before in a Total War game.
So now that you know what the vision is, I think it's time to jump into our first exclusive segment. Here is the first in-engine cinematic trailer. Enjoy!
Kislev. The motherland has turned her back on us. Exiled to a wasted land. Brothers and sisters betrayed. Whilst the meek cling to power. Is it just? To be the bulwark the world relies on? Does it make us weak? To witness endless loss? Do we falter? Molded by it. Forged hot against an anvil of ice. Rage consumes us. But from the fire, we rise again.
had everything. Giant elemental bears, bloodthirsty demons, and one cold-blooded ice witch that you wouldn't want to mess with. And now, for the moment you've been patiently waiting for, the world premiere of Total War Warhammer 3 gameplay. It's time to unsheath your swords and get ready to invade the realm of Khorne in the all-new survival battle mode. Let's jump into the action.
Here it is, the first look at Total War Warhammer 3 gameplay. Today we'll be testing our mettle in an epic new game mode, Survival Battle. Survival battles drop us into the heart of enemy territory. To prevail, we'll need to deploy our defenses by spending supplies on a variety of barricades, projectile towers, traps, reinforcements, and buffs. In this particular survival battle, we're taking the fight to Khorne, seizing 3 victory points as we progress through the ruined fort with the Brass Citadel and its gatekeeper as our goal. But our invasion into Khorne's domain will be hard fought. We'll be repelling 3 waves of lesser demons before going toe-to-toe with an exalted bloodthirster. As the battle begins, we find ourselves immediately set upon. Some quick flanking and a blast of Catarine's ice magic sets us up for a swift initial win. Now that the way ahead is clear, we can progress to capture the first victory point and start our defensive preparations. We'll use our structures, which have been built from salvage found in Khorne's realm, to our tactical advantage. They'll help us herd our foes into kill zones so we can take control of and maintain the battle's flow. We'll place barricades on either side of the victory point and block off all easy routes up the main ramps. This'll funnel the bulk of the demons towards the side ramps, where our Hussar Guard will hold the line. Meanwhile, our towers, Kossars, and Catarine will tear them apart. Here they come. Catarine uses her Lure of Ice to quickly slide between engagements. To help ease the load on our Hussar Guard, we'll use her devastating Frost Fang ability and Heart of Winter spell. Against such insurmountable odds, our warriors are sure to tire and take losses. Thankfully, we can keep our army fighting fit with the replenishments menu. Likewise, we can dramatically improve a unit's performance with the upgrades menu, where we'll buff weapons, armor, and other essential items. But that won't be enough to take us to the Brass Citadel. We'll need to call fresh troops into the slaughter with the recruitment menu. Our defense is holding thanks to our stealthy reinforcements, but the demons keep coming. Our goal lies beyond the first victory point, and we need to press onwards. With the bulk of the enemy in one convenient narrow corridor, a decisive charge from our winged lancers should put a swift end to their assault.
We must press on into the blood pits and seize the icon of blood!
We've survived the first wave and can press our invasion deeper into enemy territory. The defense of the second point begins shortly. We've only a brief respite before the demonic hordes come anew, and haven't much time to arrange our units and structures. As we progress, we'll expand our pool of available troops, summoning higher-tier units to meet the challenge of an ever-growing threat. With healing and buffing abilities, and a bear mount to briskly carry him between units in need, the Patriarch is a strong addition to our forces. Many a Chaos slave has fallen to Little Grom's ancient and roaring fusillades. Fighting alongside it stokes pride into the hearts of all Kislevites. And rightfully so. Right now, Little Grom, with help from the Ice Guard and other units, is making steady work of the demons assaulting our western wall. But where our western defense is prevailing, our eastern flanks are in danger of being overrun. A second artillery unit should help even the odds. Although advancing's our primary focus, we'll leave a rearguard to protect the bulk of our army. Losing a victory point and getting flanked now could spell disaster.
One final push to the boiling moat! We must seize the icon of torment and tempt Korn's gatekeeper from his lair!
Here we make our final push. Tired and bloodied from our march into chaos, we face two waves of demons, bolstered with heroes, cavalry, artillery, and the gatekeeper himself. Now is the time to rain the full force of Ursun's wrath down upon our foes, and do our best to survive. But to endure the coming storm, we'll need Kislev's fiercest defender. Despite Khorne's overwhelming numbers, we're standing strong. Kislev's superior ranged capabilities mixed with the staunch bulwark of the Tsar Guard and the capacity to restore our troops from the replenishment menu and the Patriarch's abilities means we're deeply entrenched. With that in mind, we can stand to be a bit more aggressive. With so many demons packed together tightly, Katarin's Frostfang ability and her other offensive spells prove ruinous. And with Khorne focused on piercing our Tsar wall, we can unleash our Warbear Riders and other cavalry to wreak havoc in their flanks. Add the Elemental Bear's ranged Elemental Breath ability and a continuous rain of fire from our Little Grom units, and we soon find ourselves prevailing against the third wave.
Prepare for the fight of your lives!
Here he is, the Gatekeeper, an exalted bloodthirster. This greater demon of Khorne is war, brutality, and murder incarnate. No mortal man could hope to stand against one and survive. Thankfully, we have a giant ice bear. If we're not careful, Khorne's Gatekeeper will systematically devastate and rout our infantry, sowing discord and creating holes in our wall. We need to keep him focused on the Elemental Bear whilst peppering him with ranged attacks and spearing him with our anti-large infantry, like the Ice Guard. The quicker we tank the Gatekeeper down, the sooner we claim victory. The combined might of Katarin's magic, the Elemental Bear's ferocity, and the continuous assault of our army is too much for even Khorne's greatest of champions. We stand triumphant. But Khorne is not the only dark god with a realm in this accursed place. The battle is won, but the war goes on.
Ian, thank you so much for joining us. And I have to say that survival battle was wild. So how does it feel to finally reveal gameplay?
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been brilliant. We know how much the fans have been eagerly anticipating the first gameplay footage, and the team and I are absolutely ecstatic to be able to finally show some, particularly considering this is such a new and unique battle type that's never been seen before in a Total War game.
The Realms of Chaos seem like a really bold design choice. Why have you decided to go beyond the mortal planes to include them?
Well, first of all, it was always our intention to actually explore the entire Warhammer fantasy universe within the trilogy, and splitting up the four gods in this way has really given us an opportunity to look at each of them in more detail, because they're so incredibly rich and diverse in terms of their content. And the Chaos Realms themselves are a crazy place with incredible environments, and it's really given us a chance to explore new features and gameplay and bring some creativity and innovation that players may not have expected to see from the third game. Opening up the Chaos Realms has quite literally given us brand new dimensions to be able to explore in terms of gameplay and features.
Is there anything you're specifically hoping players take away from their experience with the game?
Well, first of all, I just want the fans who have played the game to really feel like we've ended off the trilogy in the best possible way and gone out with a big bang and made it the very best Total War Warhammer game we possibly could have. Throughout the design of the game, we've spent a lot of time really understanding what our fans have wanted from the first few games and stuff that we as developers would have wanted, and tried our very best to get as many of those things in as we could. This is the third game in a trilogy, and so we really want people who have played the first few games to still feel familiar with the game and immediately feel comfortable that it's the same environment that they've immersed in for hundreds of hours playing the first few games, but at the same time bring in loads of innovative and interesting new features to keep them challenged and keep surprising people with things that they may maybe not have expected in the third game. But ultimately, the whole trilogy is all about fun. That's been the guiding factor from the start. We really want people to just jump in and from the word go, just have hours of fun playing the game and immersing themselves in this incredibly rich and unique universe.
I couldn't agree more, Ian. But finally, is there anything you'd like to say to the fans watching?
Yes, we'd like to thank them all for their incredible support and devotion over the last few years with Warhammer 1 and 2. It's been incredible, and as developers, that's why we do it. That's why we get up in the morning to make games that entertain people. And then when you hear fans saying how many hundreds of hours they've enjoyed playing the game, it makes it all worthwhile for us. Thank you very much for all the kind words, and we just hope that we've been able to make Warhammer 3 the kind of game you all wanted and expected, and you love that as much as you love the last two.
Ian, thank you for joining me today, and good luck with the rest of the development.
Thank you very much.
Before we wrap things up, let's get some insights from the development teams about what you can expect to experience within this chaotic world.
In Total War Warhammer 3, we'll be venturing to some of the most deadly and mysterious regions of the Warhammer Fantasy Battles universe. In Warhammer 1, we were in the Old World. In Warhammer 2, we ventured to the New World, within Lustria and Nagorond. In Warhammer 3, we'll be venturing to Kislev, to the very top and west underneath the Chaos Realms, who have been the bulwark of humanity, keeping the human civilization safe from the constant chaos incursion. But to the east, we have the mysterious, private and very ancient civilization of Grand Cathay. Beyond the mortal and humanoid realms, we can also travel to and play within the Chaos Realms themselves. 4 ruinous powers seek to rule over this place, ever seeking to slip their bonds. We have Nurgle, the Plague God, Slanesh, the Lord of Excess, Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways, and Khorne, the God of Blood, Slaughter and Rage. The inclusions of areas like the Chaos Realms has given us the opportunity to showcase the most visually distinct gameplay in Total War history. It's also allowed the design teams to really experiment and innovate with new gameplay features such as the survival battles, which really accentuates the horror and majesty of these demonic realms. The focus on the eastern fringes of the map has really allowed us to explore never before seen races in such detail in any Warhammer IP.
The overall philosophy has been to really mirror the asymmetry that you see in the tabletop game that Games Workshop have created, and that provides a lot of fun as players work out what are the strengths and weaknesses of all the races and how to use those in their favour. We've really looked to push the variety in this game, both in terms of the gameplay variation, the mechanics available for each of the races, and the content of each of those races, the rosters, the units, the heroes, the spells. Kislev have a quite conventional style with their army. They're built around rock-solid line infantry. And the good thing about their line infantry is a lot of it is hybrid infantry, so not only is it awesome in melee combat, but they have powerful missile weapons as well, which allow them to thin the enemy as they approach. They're bolstered by the Patriarch characters who will stand behind them and have a variety of support abilities, which will enhance the infantry's ability to hold the line. Alongside those, we have Ice Witches and Frost Maidens using the Law of Ice and the Law of Tempest, which are 2 very powerful spell laws with a wide variety of spells, both for killing the enemy, debuffing the enemy, buffing their own troops. And they're supported by artillery, a wide variety of cavalry as well, including bear cavalry. Khorne, a fairly simple faction to play in terms of the concept behind it. They don't have magic to use, they have very few missile units, but they do have innate magic resistance. The idea behind them is to get on the front foot, to approach the enemy and to get stuck into hand-to-hand combat. And doing that will fuel their powerful army abilities, which will help them to achieve victory. It's blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne.
The thought behind survival battles is we really wanted to get the players immersed in the realm of chaos. So once you've invaded it, you're basically going up to one of the Chaos God's backyards and you're trying to kick the door in, essentially. We really wanted to show off the scale of that, be it with the map, the amount of units that you're fighting against, and the tools that you have in your arsenal to defeat them. This also gave us the opportunity to add in new features, such as building defensive structures, allowing your units to be summoned within battle, and you can upgrade and replenish them. We're also hoping that when players go into these battles, use all these new features, they can overcome the horde of demons that attack them and, really come away with a great sense of accomplishment, knowing that you've bested one of the Chaos God's armies.
The artistic philosophy has kind of been bigger, better, badder in terms of the way we've kind of developed the art. Everything is kind of done at a grander scale. It's done to be much more gruesome, it's done to be much more interesting and exciting. Especially with a lot of the new races coming in, we really want to make sure that we differentiate the game from the first two games, whilst also making sure that it fits within the same universe and feels part of the trilogy. The Elemental Bear was a really interesting character. We did originally look at how can we approach it. Should it be done in a more ethereal look? So should it be more ghostly, more spell-based? Or should it be much more of a physical entity? Is it something that is physically created, or is it something that is generated by the army or via a spell? And so we came up with a nice compromise where a spell is cast and then the unit kind of comes together out of a pile of snow and trees and rocks from the ground, and it turns in this massive entity basically, which is just capable of crushing vast swaths of units. And I think both us and Games Workshop were really happy with the approach, especially once we handed it to the animation team and really saw it moving. It's something unlike anything any players have seen before in game. In contrast to the Elemental Bear, for Khorne we've got the Bloodthirster, who is very much an equivalent in terms of the size. They're both quite ginormous, both quite massive, running around with an axe and a whip. And when you imagine these kind of units both attacking each other in battle and you see these humanoid units running around, scurrying around their legs, you get this feeling from an old kaiju movie of these huge monstrous units taking each other on, and it really emphasises the scale difference between the races and the factions that we're going for this time around in this game. From an artistic point of view, we really want players to take away how big and bold we've really taken the franchise with this third game. We're really going to introduce quite a lot of new characters, quite a lot of interesting and diverse visual identity, which will really separate this from the first two games. From the gameplay point of view, we really want to show that we've taken the experience that players are familiar with from Warhammer 1 and 2 and really polished it and refined it, whilst also introducing some nice little surprises in there that will really make it the best playing Total War Warhammer game we've ever made.
That's it from this Total War Warhammer 3 event. It seems that there's a lot to get very excited about. To keep up to date with all of the developments for the game, or to rewatch any of the footage from tonight, make sure to keep an eye on the Total War social media channels and website. A final reminder that pre-orders are live and will include an additional free race pack. More details on this will be coming very soon. Things are just getting started and we can't wait to share more with you very soon. From the Total War team and I, we really hope you enjoyed watching.